We're ready to proceed with our forum for the Chico School District. We have a change in candidates attending tonight. Mr. Thompson apparently is ill, has strep throat. Ms. Konkin is here, but she cannot participate tonight, but she's here and present and concerned, and will follow this too. So we're going to proceed as we did with our city council candidate forum. We're going to have a 1-minute opening statement. Okay. Okay, opening statements, please. Our first one will be Mr. Tennis, Matt Tennis.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you to the League for having this event and for all of you for showing up tonight. I also want to say thank you and welcome to our teachers who are here tonight. I see there are at least a couple out there, and I really appreciate what you do. Matt Tennis is my name. I ran for school board 2 years ago because parents didn't have a voice. We had a very serious problem of our school district being shut down and having 4 young kids in the school system. I can tell you that was very, very difficult for a lot of families, especially the poor people who are traditionally underrepresented in our system, took it the hardest in that experience. And I got into the race 2 years ago to be a voice for those people. I think I did a very good job, and I want to continue doing that. I want to represent families on the school board because right now I'm the only basically unadulterated voice for families and parents on the board.
Mr. Lando.
Well, first of all, hi, thanks for being here. Nice to see everybody. We could continue to litigate the past 3 years and argue about who was right about what, but it's a bad plan. We have a lot of challenges facing the school district moving forward. For instance, the learning loss, picking up the academic loss that has been caused by all the pandemic and the fire of the last several years. As a teacher who, in fact, runs an academic intervention program, I am uniquely well suited to lead the board in that process. I am very honored and proud of the work we've done as a board so far, representing communities, building consensus as often as possible, working as a group with humility, and I would love the chance to earn your support and continue to do that. Thank you.
Mr. Wilson.
Good evening, everybody. I am the newcomer and the new face to the group. My name is Logan Wilson, and I'm happy to be here. I've got 3 boys in the school system right now, 1 in elementary school, 1 in middle school, and 1 in high school. So I've got a constant feedback loop of what's going on and what they like and what they don't like. And so I'm just excited to be here. I am passionate about the environment our kids grow up in and being so entrenched in their lives. It's extremely important. And I've been a volunteer for their sports teams and been a field trip dad and volunteer in the classroom. And so now I'm just transitioning that volunteer time and want to be a part of the school board and spending my time right here being something greater than myself. I think that's always driven me in some capacity. When I was in college, started nonprofit organizations to help students overseas who are in need. And in the business I work in, I'm very concerned and work in food security with international areas that need that assistance in food security. And so I'm happy to be here, but the skills to work that I have for the school board to represent our students, our teachers, and our parents as well. So thank you guys for the time to be here tonight.
Ms. Robinson.
Yes, thank you. Hi, my name is Eileen Robinson, and I'm going to start by describing my platform as what I've done over the last 12 years. In 2010, when I became a school board member, we were right in the middle of Michelle Obama's Let's Move campaign, and one of the things we were very aware of was the obesity of our youth. So I took on the project of redoing our policy 50-30 on nutrition and exercise, and moved from there to fight the battle of what was going on with our negotiations by bringing interest-based bargaining into our district so that our relationship with our teachers has turned into one of collaborative working together. And then, of course, we experienced COVID. And as we all know, it was difficult. It has been traumatic. I'm stopping.
Thank you. Our first question, please, and it will go to Mr. Lando. What do you think the board needs to do to improve academic achievement for all students, including any academic performance gaps resulting from the pandemic?
I love this question, thank you. First of all, we need to focus as much effort as we can on literacy and numeracy in grades pre-K through 3. I would love to expand our volunteer reading program and put a few more of our precious resources into the very earliest phases of education. There's a lot of data that shows that if a student can read fluently by the 3rd grade, they are much more likely to succeed throughout the rest of their their school career and in life. So we need to focus on that. We also need to, focus on improving our statewide math assessment scores. We can do that by creating a math-specific, basically a study group, a work group, the way we did for English language arts a few years ago. And I look forward to working with the teachers to put that into place.
Mr. Tennis.
How do we, there's no doubt that the COVID shutdown was an unmitigated disaster for kids when it comes to learning loss. Absolutely, children who are from underserved areas, as I said before, those who live in the poor areas of town, such as ones that I will be representing, were absolutely devastated. We had situations where, older siblings in their young teens or not even there were raising even younger children alone while mom and dad were gone doing work. So, yes, we have a huge problem on our hands. The number one way to do it is by investing in high-quality staff. We need to make sure that we have teachers in place who can get this difficult job done and lift our kids out of the quagmire that they've been dumped into by the Chico Unified School Board. And so that is the number one thing that we need to do, is make sure that we have good relationships with our staff and that we take care of them. Mr. Lando rightly pointed out that our math scores are abysmal. 42% of Chico Unified kids are performing at proficiency in math right now. That is totally unacceptable.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson.
Yeah, I'd agree that it has been tough recovering for our students, for my boys, and their friends coming off of the pandemic and seeing the difference that, pre-pandemic and post-pandemic and what's happened with our reading and writing skills. And I think the best thing we can do is spend additional time in the classroom focused directly on our reading and our writing and our math. And I would agree with Mr. Lando here that it needs to start early. The other key is that we need to have qualified and trained aides. I think that's a really important part of the process. My wife and her entire family have been teachers and come from a teaching background, and the conversations we have around the dinner table so often focus on having aides that take more time to manage than if they were to just do it themselves. I think we really need to find ways to bring parents back into the classroom to make sure they're qualified, and to make sure that aides have the training that they need to really be a help to the student and the teachers. And I think that's a very, very important thing that we need to work on.
Ms. Robinson.
Yes, thank you. The problem of gaps, the problem of students not all achieving at the same level has been with us for many, many years. One of the things that I support is what we have done with our ESSER dollar, the COVID dollars that we got from the feds, was to increase the number of aides and in-service training for our teachers and providing social and emotional help for our kids through counselors and our other supports that allow our kids to feel more secure with themselves and with their communities. We have 4% of our student body is homeless. That's almost 500 kids who don't know from day to day where they are going to go that night to go do their homework. These are things that we have put dollars and supports into. Our LCAP is providing LCAP, Local Controlled Accountability Plan, that provides.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Well, this is an opportunity. You'll get the next question. Begin with the next question. What role do you think parents need to play in establishing curriculum in local schools?
Parents establishing the curriculum?
Is there a role that parents play?
Okay, well, when curriculum is established, it comes through the guidelines of the California Department of Education that establishes the frameworks that we are told we must teach to. When that gets to the district level, our departments develop the curriculum and bring recommendations to the school board. It's that point at which every parent can see what it is being proposed and come and make comments on whether or not they feel it's strong enough or not strong enough. The availability is so good that if a parent wants to be involved with helping their child succeed, they can online find the curriculum that's being taught and help by becoming familiar with that curriculum so that the help that they give their student is in line with what's being taught through our state mandates.
Mr. Wilson?
Yeah, that's a great question, and that's one of the reasons I'm here, because I really got to dive into my kids' curriculum at home with them on the computer a couple years ago. And thought, wow, I'm really getting a lot closer to this than I thought of, digging into the Aries portal and all the different pieces that go into teaching them, if it's a Google Classroom or on Aries. And so the actual mechanics that Mrs. Robinson just described are, that's something I can't speak to because I don't have the time on the board that she has. But as a parent who wants to be close to their kids and understand what they're being taught, I think this is a great opportunity for parents to really jump out and get involved and say, I want to have a say. I want to understand what my kids are doing, and I get to go to these school board meetings and have a voice. And so that's, again, I'm here because I'm a parent who realized I want to be closer to my students' education. And so here I am campaigning to be on the school board. And I'd encourage every parent to take an active role and an active step and get closer to their kids' education, get closer to the teachers, get closer to the aides, because it is extremely important that parents have a strong role and an active role in their kids' education.
Mr. Lando?
Parents have a very important role in, of course, overseeing their students, their children's education. And there are a lot of ways that they can get involved. As has been mentioned, attending school board meetings, getting to know your teachers, rebuilding that community and that feeling of trust between teachers and parents. We can also, we can do both. There are things we have to teach, right? The state does have these curriculum standards, but we can use parent input, and we can get parent input more efficiently to decide exactly how those are taught and which curriculum we adopt. One of the things we have been struggling with and working on the last several years is how do we reach out to parents and make sure they know about upcoming meetings and upcoming decisions we're making so that they can attend the correct meetings and make sure that they're heard. I would encourage all of you who are still interested to continue to do that, please.
Mr. Tennis?
The people who run Sacramento, the legislature and the California Department of Education, have become increasingly more aggressive in recent years in promoting political agendas through school curriculum. A lot of the old institutions that used to be a part of our life, things like standardized testing, calculus pathways, gifted and talented education, these things they're wanting to phase them out. And so these math standards that were referred to, they're using those to promote a dumbing down of our school system overall, something that completely levels the educational playing field to make sure that a child can't advance in one particular area or another because they don't like the results of that. They don't like the fact that this child gets to excel, but other children don't. And so California is experiencing a dumbing down of our system. And as a school district, as these standards and notions come down from Sacramento, we need to grapple with them as we implement the standards.
What is the role of the neighborhood school in Chico? Is it still viable? And we will begin with Mr. Lando.
The short answer is yes. Neighborhood schools are not only viable, they are hugely important. While we do have a very large portion of our student body that goes to out-of-area schools, the school as the hub of a community, as a place that people know to go to, as a place that is defined by the neighborhood and the people who live there, is it's a staple of our community, of our city, and it will continue to be such for the foreseeable future.
Mr. Tennis.
No doubt about it. Neighborhood schools are gathering places. They are places where neighborhoods and people in those neighborhoods come together for community and involvement in their children's lives and get to know one another and intermix. It was tragic when they were shut down. It was, as I said before, a terrible situation, and that should never have happened. And it was a child care catastrophe. So we need to make sure that schools are open and serving the communities that they are located in.
Ms. Robinson.
Yes, a number of years ago, 20 now or so, we completely eliminated forcing students to attend a school that the parents didn't want them to go to. Many of the reasons were where the parent worked, so that they were closer to a school where they could provide transportation back and forth. And now what we find in Chico Unified is approximately 30% of our students attend a school outside of their living area. And it has made such a positive force for families becoming involved with their school and the meetings and things, because they're going where they feel they want their kids to go because of the difference in the program.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson.
So I grew up in Alturas, California. I don't know if anybody knows what that is, but there is only one neighborhood. There's only 3,000 people. There's one elementary school, one middle school, and one high school, and they were tiny. And so neighborhood school is all I've known. And so they are extremely important. They are, like Mr. Lando said, the hub of a community. We can't have a community without our schools, and I think that's what we missed and our kids missed so desperately when they were shut down, is that we missed out on the community for years. Parents even getting to meet their kids' friends' parents and being involved in the PTAs and the winter concerts and the Christmas concerts. We missed out on that community. And so that was a sacrifice that we as a nation, as a state, as Chico all bore together. But having a viable neighborhood school is extremely important. And to speak to Mrs. Robinson's point as well, on kids living outside of the school right where they're next to, the amount of time that we spend picking up our kids' friends or dropping them off all over Chico, it's crazy. And so kids do have a choice, and the parents have a choice, and it's really effective. Thank you.
Mr. Tennis.
Can you repeat the question, please?
What is the role, I think we, yes, it's a new question. Mr. Tennis.
Glad I asked.
What are the challenges? What are the challenges for the school district to meeting the needs of LGBTQ students?
Listen, every child needs to be respected for who they are, period, end of story. It is not the business of the school district to preach sermon to anybody of how they ought to live their life, and we need to be accepted for face value of who we are in schools, no doubt about it. This is secular public education, and we serve the people in our community, period, end of story. So that said, we treat people with equality and fairness in every case.
Mr. Lando.
Can you repeat the question, please?
What are the challenges for the school district to meet the needs of LGBTQ students?
The challenges are several. First of all, while we have increased the amount of mental health services, we can always do more in that area. The data is very clear that not being recognized, not having appropriate services for these students results in really negative outcomes, in poor work in school, in self-harm. It is imperative that we do everything we can to make sure all of our students feel understood and accepted on our campus.
Ms. Robinson.
Yes, well, the challenges are being overcome because of a concerted effort on the part of the district to do just as the previous speakers have said, recognize the student for who they are and honor them for who they are. Stopping bullying has been a big deal, and we take it very seriously. Our students, I think, are gaining from it and do, in fact, spend a lot of more quality time supporting each other and having empathy for their friends that may or may not have the same viewpoints about their sexuality as others. And it's something that we live by, the thing that everybody is entitled to be who they are and respected.
Mr. Wilson.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting question because, again, the experience that I, see my boys and their friends coming home is that the challenges have largely been overcome. For kids to feel accepted and for the teachers to embrace and for the staff and administration to be an open and a safe place for the kids, there has been an enormous amount of progress in that context and in that space within the public school system. And so, while Mr. Lando is correct, we still need to expand our mental health care and our emotional health care and our behavioral health care for these students who are in flux and exploring their identities and figuring out who they are. There's nothing easy about that. We all remember that, and it is an extremely complicated process. And so I would say, though, from the experience that I see watching my boys come home is that there's been an enormous amount of challenges that have been surmounted already. Not to say we need to stop, but the kids need to be respected for who they are and be able to be who they are.
Thank you. Our next question, please, and we'll start with Mr. Wilson again. Do you support opening public school classrooms to well-educated people from other careers and giving them fast track to becoming qualified teachers? Describe how that would work.
Opening public schools to be the learning forum, as in like they would be taught how to become a teacher?
Bringing in other people as qualified teachers, making a fast track for teachers.
Okay, so not having to have a credential to be a teacher within the school system,
Right.
Is that the question? Okay. That's a great question. So I got my master's degree at Chico State and then taught in the College of Business at Chico State. I didn't have a doctorate. The minimum requirement to teach at Chico State is to have a master's, and so I had one. And I think there's a lot of value in being a practitioner and being able to teach about the skills that you live in the real life and be able to impart those on, if it's college students, if it's elementary students, if it's middle or high school. And so I do think that there is value in bringing practical experience, real life experience into the classroom, teaching our kids how to be successful and not have such an enormous barrier of entry to becoming a teacher when sometimes they are not supported. The benefits and the pay that they take and the attitude that they could take sometimes maybe isn't worth it. So finding alternative means to support our students to accelerate their learning and accelerate their access to the best education, I would absolutely be willing to consider and find the best way to do that.
Ms. Robinson.
Yes, I don't support it for the elementary students who need teachers that come in with skills that have been built to directly address their beginning reading, writing, math skills. However, we have career technical education courses that lend themselves very highly to bringing in people that have technical advice and experience in things like welding and building and other areas. They use it at the community college level quite successfully, but for students at the elementary level, I believe you need teachers that have been through the teaching schools like Chico State to teach them how to deal with the varied needs of the youngsters.
Mr. Lando.
In the way that I think you mean, where in other states they have lowered the bar for teachers, I have to say no. If anyone is concerned about the dumbing down of education, we can't do this. There are fast tracks for people who want to become CTE teachers, and I think that would be a great thing to explore. It's very quick, and we need more CTE teachers, people who have outside experience in other industries who can come in and very quickly get a credential to teach those classes. However, the solution is not to recruit anyone and anybody who thinks they can be a teacher. It's to increase the value that people see in being a teacher. Increase their respect, increase their pay, make it a real professional career in the same, so that they're mentioned in the same breaths as, you know, doctors and lawyers. I think if we do that, you'll find that getting teachers isn't hard. It's just the conditions they're in right now make it not necessarily a very appealing career.
Mr. Tennis.
I wouldn't be a strong advocate for allowing non-credentialed teachers to come into Chico Unified, but we are in the midst, as we know, of what's sometimes been called the Great Resignation. I think that desperate times sometimes call for desperate measures. Chico Unified, we know, is more capable of attracting the staff that we need than surrounding districts. More rural districts, they are having a lot of trouble. I think on a statewide policy basis, yeah, I think this is something that definitely needs to be looked at and considered. For Chico Unified, I think that we are having, from what I hear from our very competent administrative staff, a lot of success in finding the teachers that we need. So I don't think that we're going to be in a situation where we're going to have to, settle for non-credentialed teachers in the near future at Chico Unified. I would need to be convinced.
Okay. We have 2 more questions and then closing statements. And to Mr. Lando, what do you think are the top challenges facing Chico Unified School District over the next year?
The number 1 challenge is to get back on track to where we were before the fire and the pandemic. We need to continue to come together as a community. We need to continue to focus on academics and on classroom performance rather than getting sidetracked by culture wars or political crusades. We also have some really serious facilities needs. We are in the middle of our master plan to modernize and update all facilities, and getting that done and finding the resources to get that done is going to be a huge challenge to make sure that every student has equitable access. And of course, retaining our staff. While we do have enough staff now, we are looking to grow. I mean, our demographics show that we will increase. We're going to need more teachers. We're going to need to find a way to keep them in Chico, to train them well, to retain them.
Mr. Tennis.
Clearly our biggest challenge is to clean up the mess of the COVID shutdown. I was the only voice in the room that wanted schools back full-time during the 2021-22 school year. Excuse me, yeah, that's correct. I'm sorry, the 2020-21 school year. Every other candidate in my race wanted a complete 100% online school. So no AM, PM, no hybrid anything, just completely Zoom school, and that's unacceptable. So we need people who are in this job, who have good judgment, who understand the value of having kids in class for in-person education. We need to, as has been stated, get back on track academically because the learning loss has been huge and catastrophic.
Mr. Wilson.
Yeah, Mr. Lando brought up another good point here, which is the campfire. We've been talking a lot about the shutdown and the results of that, but we'll say the biggest challenge is going to be dealing with the learning loss. But I think what's hard, and one thing did discuss either in my opening, is that my family, we lost our home in the campfire as well. We are a Chico family, but the fire just burned that far down and got our house. Our kids were actually sheltering in LCC, and the staff was buying them pizzas because my wife and I couldn't get to them at 5 or 6 o'clock that night. So I think some of the challenges we have are, for one, dealing with the influx of students and the trauma that was a result of that. And our family is case in point for some of that, of being unhoused for a period of time and just everything being in such upheaval. And so we've got a real heart for how we can deal with that as a community and as a school board. But secondly, is ultimately focusing back to the first question on reading, writing, and arithmetic to make sure that our kids have a chance to really be focused and successful moving into their later life.
Ms. Robinson.
Yes, thank you. If we're going to recover, and we are going to recover, because we're beginning. We have to listen to what's going on in the classrooms. The teachers are reporting that their students are still struggling with behavior issues because of the trauma of what happened during the pandemic and the campfire. We have put in place counselors and other supports to help the kids overcome the trauma of that experience. We need to stay with those supports for the social emotional health of those kids. And at the end of that, they are going to begin to be able to focus again on their academics. Without that social emotional support to help the kids recover, it's going to slow their academic recovery. And with the supports, the academic recovery will come much quicker. And we have some areas that we knew we had problems with before the pandemic that we need to treat to again with more effort.
Thank you. And our last question before closing. What are your top 3 things you hope to accomplish as a member of the school board?
Is this our closing statement?
No, it is not. Yes, Mr. Lando.
Thank you. Top 3 things I'd love to accomplish.
What you want to accomplish as a school board member?
Absolutely.
Your personal goals.
First of all, as I said, our math scores. When we were interrupted by the last 3 years of catastrophes, we were in the middle of working very hard to improve our English scores, and that worked to a large degree. We need to do the same thing with our math scores and continue to work on our academic progress. Secondly, we need to focus on making sure that all of our students, no matter which site they attend or whether they choose to attend in person or online, have access to the same world-class educational opportunity. And lastly, though it's not sexy, again, our facilities. We need to make sure that we have the money to keep people in the classrooms we've got, but we can expand them to house the pre-K and 2K students that are coming on soon. And that we have what we need to attract teachers who want to teach in the latest and greatest facilities and give our students the education they deserve.
Mr. Tennis?
First thing I would want to do would be to overcome the learning loss. So I'm going to gloss over that because I've already talked a lot about it. Secondly, I think I want to be a voice for parents. I think parents need to be involved in the school district in a way that they've never been, or not never, but in my awareness as a parent, it occurs to me that we have not had the voice and the presence that we need to be. We need to be involved in our kids' education. Thirdly, I would say that we are down the road looking at probably a fiscal cliff of some kind. We know that when I started 2 years ago, our annual budget was $120 million a year in Chico Unified. Because of the COVID spending, that has gone up to, I think, just under $170 million. At some point in the not distant future, that is going to pull back, and we're going to need to make adjustments to that. So we need to be sort of hardening our program and preparing for that adjustment, which is going to come suddenly.
Ms. Robinson?
Yes, thank you. What I hope to accomplish is to continue to provide the support, social, emotional, and academic supports that we have in place. To be able to fund it, I agree with Mr. Tennis. We need to take a look at how are we going to respond to the loss of the dollars that have been thrown our way. We have to be able to provide buildings. We are in the process of redoing our facilities master plan again. We have 7 schools that have not yet been touched. And to provide the supports for especially our special ed students, we need to change the classroom configuration so that those students and their supports can happen in the schools that we have. We are going to be picking up the younger and younger kids. We're going to need more classrooms for that. So I hope to be able to continue on the facilities master plan committee that I've been on for 12 years and see to it that our facilities are brought up to what our kids need to succeed.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson.
Yeah, I think like everybody else up here, it's a measurable success or a measurable return to success in what our kids have experienced from learning loss. So I won't focus too much time there. Secondly, and this is one that's kind of near and dear to my heart, and it's because my mother-in-law was a career special education teacher, but to really increase the help and access to our special ed kids. And again, it goes back to having aides who are trained. I think that was one of her biggest challenges, was just feeling like she was alone out there in battle every single day, didn't have support from the administration or other staff, and she was just working so hard. And so I want that to be a secondarily, a big focus for me. And thirdly, I'd agree with the facilities improvement. There are some incredible schools and incredible projects that have been done around here, and it's to continue that work forward. And looking at the budgets, that's something I'm excited about. Dealing in the commodities business, big numbers are what I do every day. And looking at this budget is something I'm excited to tackle and kind of not overhaul, but understand and make sure we're moving the best way forward that we can with the resources available to ensure success in the future.
Okay, moving into our closing statements, Ms. Robinson.
Yes, thank you. Yes, I've been through a lot with the school district. I've seen layoffs, I've seen budget cuts, I've seen the recession, I've seen recovery. And what I want to do is use my experience to see what worked, not do it again if it didn't work. Experience in being the parent of 12,000 kids for as many years as I have lets me know that there are so many different needs of those 12,000 kids that I want to be a voice for meeting the needs of those 12,000 kids.
Mr. Wilson.
Yeah, guys, if there's one thing I want you to remember about me tonight is that I'm excited to be here. I really am. I mean, this is my and my wife's and our family's everyday life, and to get to be and spend a little more time doing this, I'm excited. I'm a business owner here in the community. We are campfire survivors in the community. We had a chance, we kind of looked at ourselves and said, do we want to stay in Chico or do we just want to pull out and move somewhere? Because that was the situation we were in. And we rebuilt and we are reinvesting ourselves 100% back into this community. And so I'm really excited to be a part of this process and be a part of the success for your kids and our kids and your grandkids moving forward here too. And so that's the big thing I want you all to remember is that I'm here and I'm excited and I've got a lot of energy to hopefully bring to the administration and the school for our kids and the teachers. Don't want to leave out the teachers. Thank you.
Mr. Lando.
Sure. First of all, I wanted to mention that actually the last couple of meetings we were talking about the training for aides and how to retain more and train them. So that's ongoing. That's really awesome. I started out as an aide. That was my first job. When I returned to Chico, I left Chico right after high school, and I came back to the choice because I wanted to become a teacher at Chico State. I wanted to come back and raise my kids in the schools that I had gone to and the communities that I had gone to. I love it here. I'm honored every day to get to work to improve our schools and our children's lives. We need a board that is going to be capable of working together, assessing the facts as they are, not as we wish they were, and of occasionally not winning a vote gracefully. As soon as this is over, this election, whoever wins will be one board, not going to be 5 different people. All decisions we make are as a board. Individually, we have very little power. So we need to remember that as we go through this campaign, we're doing it not for ourselves, but for the students and for the district.
Mr. Tennis.
So all you gotta ask yourself is, do you think Chico parents should be a meaningful voice on the school board? So I'm proud to be the only voice for parents on the board, and I'd like to continue to do that. And speaking of great parents who are running for school board, I'm disappointed that we didn't get to hear tonight from somebody who I think is one of the greatest candidates that a town could ever have for school board, and that is Rebecca Konkin, who is a pediatric nurse practitioner, which is equivalent to a doctor. And I think that Becky Konkin is giving us a huge gift by throwing her hat in the ring for this job. So I think everybody should support Rebecca Konkin for Trustee Area 1 if you're on the west side.
Okay. That concludes our forum for this evening.